So the physics of light is really important for me to realise that how the image is formed, and all the new studies that are showing us today how, it's not understood at all, but how the image is processed in our minds. And now I'm getting a little bit off the track here, but light in itself and the study of it from the scientific point of view has always interested me too. The fact that light travels in a straight line, for instance, and the fact that the angle of incidence equals the angle of reflection. Perhaps you can understand it intuitively if you're painting and drawing from nature, but I think it helps to understand the physics as well, because you can invent much better that way. You can know that if the sun is at 45 degrees, for instance, you'll know exactly where the end of the shadow will be. You'll know where the how it will be in perspective on the and so forth. You'll know where the reflected lights will be because of knowledge of the angles of incidence and reflection. It's a bit like playing billiards because it follows the same laws. But this way you can compute in your own head an imaginary scene and be pretty sure you're getting the elements of light and form and shadow and so forth true to nature. For many years I didn't paint when I started studying form and light, and I seemed quite happy to just draw. And of course with charcoal and chalk, and I covered tone, and I became fascinated with tone and how much tone could convey in art. But given that the structure of a picture is a fascinating area in itself, and I'm getting around to talking about form. But I find if you take a form in itself and draw it in perspective and take away the shadows, for instance, and just leave the perspective lines and then the silhouettes and then the way it changes, a little bit like with a computer. You give it a front elevation, a plan, and then you can revolve it in the computer in its three-dimensionality and look at it from underneath and sideways. Well, that's the kind of, those lines are the very lines that fascinate me in understanding the structure of an object. So then we move on to the rendition in space, I suppose, and that means bringing light and shadow into it, because everything we see is only because of light bouncing off it and back to our eyes and in various forms. So along with that is the study of light. You can't study form without studying light. You can't study light and shade without having and in my mind anyway, an understanding of light. So the physics of light is really important for me to realise that how the image is formed and all the new studies that are showing us today, how the image is processed in our minds,